everyone to another episode of the Rankings video. I am your host, slasherscotty, and boy do I have a surprise for you. We're about to go off base from horror for this episode of the Rankings, and we're going to dive into some classic, epic video games, as we're about to rank down the top 9 worlds in the 1998 classic video game for Nintendo 64, Banjo-Kazooie. And just a heads up, we won't be counting the starter world, Spiral Mountain, or the hub world, Grentilda's Lair. But before we start ranking these very fun worlds from a very fun game that I still play to this very day on my Nintendo 64, which by the way is the same N64 I bought in 1996, I have a special sponsor to plug, and that sponsor is RAZE Energy. Make sure to get your 12-pack of RAZE Energy and any other Rep Sports memorabilia, and doing so will guarantee you 15% off your next order by using the promo code slasherscotty in the coupon code at checkout. RAZE is guaranteed to keep you going and going during long days and nights at the office or in the classroom, so make sure to pick up your pack of energy drinks from RAZE, which contains a variety of different flavors with 0 sugar in each can. But now that we mentioned our sponsor, how about we, tell you a little bit of information here. Subscribe to my channel if you like what what you're going to be seeing and everything. You like what I got, so subscribe, show me some love. Hit that bell notification icon to get updated on everything Slasher Scotty. Like the video if you like what you saw, as well as comment your own personal rankings on where you believe each Banjo-Kazooie world should be ranked. So, which Banjo-Kazooie world is the best of the best and the worst of the worst? Well, how about we find out? But before we do that, I have one thing to let you know, and that is the golden rule. I told you it in almost every single video I've done, and here's the golden rule, and that is, these rankings are my own personal picks. They may vary from yours, but don't bash me in the comments on how stupid I am for ranking one world higher than the other one. So go and play Banjo-Kazooie, refresh your memory, and then let me know what your favorites are. So how about we go into my other studio, and let's count down our very own collectathon with world rankings. How about we do it now? See you there. Woo! Number 9 on this rankings is Clankers Cavern. Clankers Cavern is the 3rd world in the game, and it is fun to do, but it is ultimately my least favorite world. It is primarily an underwater world, with some spots taking place outside of the water. You have to release Clanker, who is a mechanical shark, and the personal garbage disposal of Grentilda the Witch. And once he's released, you can go inside of him and collect more notes, jiggies, and whatnot. The new move that Bottles teaches you in this world is the Wonder Wing, which allows Kazooie to use gold feathers to protect herself and Banjo from any damage, which means she is invincible for a limited amount of time. To release Clanker, you have to swim all the way down to the bottom of the cavern and swim through the key link in the anvil 3 times. But you won't run out of breath and die. That is, as long as you swim through the air bubbles provided by Gloop, who is a fish that swims around the anvil that Clanker is tied to. Ultimately, my least favorite world, and I mostly dread having to go here. I usually stop, the game right before entering this world so I can play it at a later date and time. So, that's why this is my least favorite. Let me know if you think the same thing, but, for me, this is the least. Number 8 is the world that most people rank last, but it isn't my last, but it's close to the last, and that's Rusty Bucket Bay. Rusty Bucket Bay is the 8th world in the game, and it is by far the hardest. Taking place in and around a boat that is parked in a bay, you have to sometimes swim in the oily water, which takes double air, whether you are under or above the water itself, and has some major tasks that are hard to complete. For starters, you have to go into the ship's engine room, maneuvering around the moving objects such as fans, bolts, and other platforms. You get a jiggy in there, but also have to hit 2 switches and have a very short amount of time to do it, and then you have to go through the engine room to exit, run off the back of the ship, and then jump into the dangerous oily water, swim underneath and into the ship's propellers, and get the jiggy, and then swim out of the propellers before the time starts again, because once you hit the propellers, you immediately die. And also in the engine room, you immediately die once you fall off a platform and down into the bottomless pit below. The worst part is, once you die, you gotta start all over again. So hopefully you get the notes in here first and not last, or you're going back to square one. There is no move to learn from Bottles in here, And you have plenty of bad guys, including the Boss Boombox, as well as rescuing Snorkel the dolphin, who is trapped under the oily water by an anchor that you have to, rescue her from. Just like Clankers Cavern, I stopped playing the game right before this world because I have to be in the mood to play this world. It's just hard and not my favorite cup of tea, so I always play it fresh and when I'm in the mood. Number 7 is Mabbos Mountain. Mabbos Mountain is the first world in the game, which is why it is this low on the list. I absolutely love the world, don't get me wrong, but it is super easy with all the notes right in front of your face, as is everything else. This is the world, you are introduced to Mumbo Jumbo, the game's shaman, who transforms Banjo and Kazooie into a termite. You also learn how to use the Talon Trot, the Beak Buster attack, and how to fire blue eggs. With the latter move that you learn from Bottles, it teaches you how to spit and fart the eggs. You have an unbeatable bull that never dies, just gets stunned after so many hits, and of course, the first official boss you face is Conga the gorilla. Overall, super easy and fun world, but because of that reason, it has to be near the bottom of this list. Number 6 is Mad Monster Mansion. Mad Monster Mansion is the 7th world in the game, and it isn't too hard, but it also isn't that easy neither. It is the first world where you don't learn a new move from Bottles. You do get transformed though by Mumbo Jumbo into a pumpkin, so you can fit into small spaces, such as getting flushed down Lago the toilet, and into the mansion sewers. Also, Mad Monster Mansion is Gruntilda's so-called home, and there are a lot of interesting stuff in here, including the picture of the pirate who was the original boss before the game became Banjo and Kazooie, and is later featured in the sequel of Banjo-Kazooie called Banjo-Tooie, as an actual character in the world Jolly Roger's Lagoon. It features a haunted mansion as well as a haunted church, where you have to run in a certain amount of time with the turbo running shoes, which you'll end up learning, in a previous world, and then you have to run to the church door in order to enter. The tombstones named Ripper always give me goosebumps as well, because some are alive and some are just regular old tombstones, so be careful there. Overall, a super fun world, but not my overall favorite, although I do enjoy it. Number 5 is Bubble Gloop Swamp. Bubble Gloop Swamp is the 4th world in the game and is, in my personal opinion, absolutely fun. You are transformed by Mumbo Jumbo into the only transformation that can attack in this game, a crocodile, as well as learn how to use the wading boots from Bottles, so you can wade through dangerous places such as the swamp in this world, as well as icy water and hot sand which are in previous worlds. There are some hard jiggies in this world, 2 in particular being 2 separate timed ones, where you gotta race across a path that is pretty narrow in an allotted amount of time. Another one is being the crocodile and beating Mr. Vile in 3 games of eating Yumblies and Grumblies, with the option of using the turbo running shoes. Something I never use when I'm playing the game against him. No reason to do it, I could do it without it. And also, the Tip Top Choir minigame is quite complex with 3 lessons of Tip Top students making noises, and you have to hit the proper turtle that spoke in the right order. If you get the wrong one, you lose a life. It's easy if you write it down though, as each turtle shell is a different color, but very hard to remember if you don't write it down, so keep that in mind. The 3 games have 7 different tunes from 7 different turtles to memorize, so definitely be warned on that one, alright? Ultimately, a fun world, but the most dangerous part is the swamp, and if you step into it, you're chomped by the swamp piranhas. That's the main reason this world is down a bit on the list, because it's quite hard to navigate without falling into the swamp and having your little tootsies, fit. Number 4 is Gobys Valley. One of my favorite worlds, Gobys Valley, which is the 6th world in the game, is so fun. Super fun. You learn the last move in the game from Bottles, which is the turbo running shoes, and you use them quite often, such as running towards the so-called boss of the world, Grabba, and grab the Jiggy from his hand as you are too slow to do it without the shoes, and a maze to the top of the tomb so you can enter and release water around the moat filled with hot sand that surrounds King Sandy Butt's tomb. The difficulty is that the hot sand and the sandy hills scalding you if you enter. We do meet a legendary character from the game, Goby, who is in future worlds in this game and the next game as well. With an ancient Egyptian theme in a desert atmosphere, this is by far one of my favorite worlds, which makes it go near the top of the rankings if you ask me. Number 3 is Treasure Trove Cove. Treasure Trove Cove is the second world in the game, and it is a beach setting, formerly named Hammerhead Beach, when the game was in development. It is the first world to not feature a transformation from Mumbo Jumbo, and it also is the world that Banjo and Kazooie learn how to finally fly, as well as learn the shock spring jump to reach new heights via a shock jump disc. It has a menacing boss in Nipper, who is a hermit crab, who can be a bit tough if you aren't, careful when attacking, as she uses her pinchers to pluck at you. You get a scary and menacing shark named Snacker, who I always was afraid of since, I hate sharks. As well as being introduced to Captain Blubber, who is a sea hippo that, end up crashing his ship, known as the Salty Hippo, and is seen again in Banjo-Tooie's Jolly Roger's Lagoon world. This world you also revisit a lot to enter the sandcastle floor, so you can, use codes that you learn from Cheeto the Spellbook to get double eggs, double feathers, and, the red and the gold feathers, and double blue eggs. Ultimately, a super fun world, amazing musical score, beautiful setting and color scheme, and it's just an overall joy to play. Number 2 is Freezey Peak. Freezey Peak is the 5th world in the game and is an absolutely amazing world and is definitely close to being my number 1. Freezey Peak brings in the holiday spirit with a snowy Christmas theme to it. You also meet Boggy the polar bear, who is a very important part of the game and is later seen in Banjo-Tooie in the icy side of Hailfire Peaks. You also help the Twinklies light up the Christmas tree, which you then meet the Twinklies again in the minigame in Banjo-Tooie in the Grunty's Industries world. Mumbo Jumbo transforms you into a walrus that can safely go through the icy water, which Banjo and Kazooie cannot without being hurt due to the icy burns of frostbite. You'll learn the Beak Bomb attack from Bottles as well, which, comes in handy when battling Gruntilda, and also is the reason why you can beat the boss, Sir Slush, the Snowman. You also have to race Boggy twice as well, once as a walrus, and again as Banjo and Kazooie, which you cannot do until you learn the Turbo Running Shoes in Gobys Valley, so you do have to backtrack after learning them in Gobys Valley. But other than that, it is a super fun world. I mean, if you played Banjo-Tooie, then you will know that backtracking in this game is nothing compared to the backtracking you gotta do in Banjo-Tooie, right? And number 1 on the rankings is Clockwood. Clockwood is the 9th and the last world in the game before you head on over to Grunty's Furnace Fun, which is a quiz show to rescue Tootie, and then battle Gruntilda herself. This world is by far my most favorite. It has a killer soundtrack, which I have interviewed the composer of the soundtrack and music of the game, Grant Kirkhope, as well as a hub world inside of it, with entry to parts of the world that each represent the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. We're about to cover the number 1 spot differently than we did in all the other episodes of the rankings because we're about to cover each season independently, starting with the first season you have to complete. How about we go and see that one now, okay? See you soon! Spring is the first season you have to do in Clockwood, and it has the setting of, well, spring in the real world. It is rainy. Plants are starting to bloom, but they're at their baby stages. Nothing is growing, just being a sprout and whatnot. This is where, you first meet Naughty the beaver and Nabnut the squirrel. The treehouse is just being started in construction. This is where you hatch Eerie the eagle from its egg, and you start to grow the giant flower by feeding it blue eggs out of your butt. But this is the season that you are transformed by Mumbo Jumbo as a bumblebee. This transformation is the only one in the game that has the ability that you can actually fly. You can get some jiggies, some notes, and a Jinjo or 2. Other than that, it's on to the summer season, which you actually have to open up during springtime as well. Summer is the second season, and you have to do in Clockwood, which, has some more notes, some more jiggies to collect for the overall Clockwood world, as well as another Jinjo. It is summertime after all, which means there is a drought, so the water from spring is gone. You get to see Naughty the beaver again, and you get to break his boulder so he can enter his dam. You see Nabnut again, you see the baby Eerie, the eagle, this time you have to feed it a couple of caterpillars, 5 to be exact, and you'll help him grow. You also see Goby the camel from Gobys Valley again, where you have to again jump on his back to release the water he has and help grow the giant flower. Mumbo Jumbo won't transform you because it is too hot for Mumbo Magic, and you also fight the world's boss, the Zubas. in the season as well. The treehouse has started some construction with a few boards being added to it, and of course, because it is summertime after all, it is sunny, and there are bees that attack you in certain spots as well. A fun season for sure, but my favorite season is the next one, which you also unlock in this world by hitting the switch. Autumn, otherwise known as fall, is the third season you enter and is my all-time favorite season. And the reason why is because my favorite season is autumn in real life. There are stacks of leaves everywhere. You continue to pick up more notes and jiggies. You know, one more Jinjo. Leaves are falling. It is the embodiment of fall after all. It is the embodiment of fall time, so why not? You have to feed Eerie 10 more caterpillars to help him grow into an adult eagle. You help Nabnut find his 6 lost acorns. And you get the Jiggy from Naughty the Beaver in his dam, since the water is back from the drought in the summertime. So you can now swim up Naughty's home. You see Goby, again, one last time, and this time you have him spit more water into the giant flower to make it fully bloom. This is where Goby says he's off to the lava world, which is known as the fire side of Hailfire's Peak. In Banjo-Tooie, but he is first seen in Witchy World, captured as a sideshow attraction. The treehouse is completed and has a full roof and a full wooden floor to enter and walk freely as you wish. Mumbo won't do any transformation because he is busy sweeping leaves, so no Bumblebee for Banjo and Kazooie in this season either. Definitely love this season, and it is also the place where you get the Beak Buster to the switch to unlock the last season of this world. Winter is the fourth and the last season you enter in Clockwood, and if done correctly throughout the previous 3 seasons, you'll collect the last of the notes and the Jiggies in this world, as well as the last Jinjo for that Jiggy as well. You were reintroduced to Sir Slush, who are the snowmen from Freezey Peak, as well as other bosses, and you see Nabnut hibernating. The giant flower that bloomed is now dead. Eerie is now a mighty eagle, and he will poop out the Jiggy for you when he flies away. Naughty the Beaver is in his home and hosts one of the 2 extra honeycomb pieces. But to get it to him, you have to swim under some icy water that takes double air, just like Rusty Bucket Bay's oily water did. And you can get out, you can't get out once you start swimming because it is a sheet of ice above you. The treehouse is also boarded up. You can fly in this world, just not from Mumbo Magic, as Mumbo is away on vacation. But there are flight paths around the world for you to fly throughout the winter season. And of course, it is wintertime after all, which means that and I think it is worth mentioning that, it has a winter setting. Snow and ice. Banjo will be slipping and sliding when moving, and the whole 9, but that's all, folks. We just covered Clockwood and its 4 seasons, as well as all of the other worlds in this legendary game. Now how about we head back over to my other studio, discuss some more, some important stuff, and then I'll let you go back to playing your Call of Duties, your Fortnites, your World of Warcrafts, but you better be playing your Banjo-Kazooies as well. What? Hey everyone, thanks for joining me on this totally different set of rankings. It wasn't horror-based, but thank you for sticking around. This is awesome. We actually jumped into our first non-horror related subject, and I'm really excited because it was the iconic and classic N64 collectathon game, Banjo-Kazooie. And we just ranked all of the worlds with them. If you liked what you saw, please, give the video a like and comment what you thought, specifically if you agree with my rankings or not. If not, then tell me how you would rank them, because I definitely would like to know. Of course, make sure to, make sure to do something slasher related and hit that bell notification icon. Get updated on all things /Scotty, because doing so will get you notifications of everything that I do, including of all the videos I upload. Right when they're posted, of course. And that's all I got here, but until next time, I'm slasherscotty, and I'm about to go on my own hunt for Jiggy. Me! My first Jiggy!